Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. DIY Dad here, and today we are going to continue working on my porch project, and specifically we're going to install an outdoor rated, so damp condition rated fan in my Three Season right up there. Here we go. The fan we're going to be using for this is a Harbor Breeze 2, Twin Breeze 2 rather, by Harbor Breeze, and it's kind of a unique fan in that it has a center mounted light and then a fan that extends to either side, and given the nature of my porch and the shape and size here, that's going to be nice because it'll mount our light right in the middle, and then one of the fans will go right about there and the other one will be in that void over there, so it should be pretty perfect for this space. Now, I'm not going to do one of those silly unboxing videos. Not silly. I know a lot of you really enjoy unboxing videos. I'm not going to do that for this. I am going to take you through, however, step by step of how to install this particular fan in your location. So ironically, given my last comment, your first step is going to be unboxing. So you're going to take this top styrofoam container, just pick it up and set it off to the side somewhere. I recommend using it. There's a lot of pieces for this particular fan, so I'd leave them in here just to keep everything organized. But we're going to pull this out of the way. That's going to expose the fan motor housing underneath, which we'll use in a minute. But the specific piece that we need from this box is this. This is going to be your mounting bracket for the fan itself. And that's going to go up in your outlet box up there. You will need the original screws from your outlet box to mount this. So if you don't have those screws, you'll have to go source some, as this kit does not come with them and expects that you already have them. And so I've got my mounting bracket mounted. It doesn't really matter whether you have it this way or that way, because there's a down rod that's going to hang in this one. This particular fan doesn't support flush mounting because of the way it's designed, so it does have to have at least like a 4-inch down rod. So that's just going to sit and rest in this pocket. Next step we're going to do is to pull this motor housing out. It's kind of a little bit, not overly heavy, but it's unwieldy, it's oddly shaped. So pull this out and we're going to remove all of this plastic packing material. And then we're going to pull the styrofoam out of here too, and we're going to use that as a tray and set this back in unwrapped into that with the bottom of the motors, so the part that would face down, pointing up so we have access to it. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to remove the 3 motor blocks from each motor. That's these little black plastic pieces here. So we're going to unscrew those. You can do that by just diving your screwdriver straight through this opening to get access to the screws, just a standard Phillips. So we're going to pull those out. You need to keep the screws, but you can throw away these blocks. So you don't need the plastic blocks themselves, but you will need the screws. Set those aside. I recommend using one of these open pockets for those screws so they don't go missing. Okay, now that that step is done and we've got our screws off to the side, this whole thing needs to be flipped over. So you're just going to pick it up, flip it over, and set it right back down. Okay, once you flip this over, you're going to loosen these 2 pre-installed screws. There's one on each side. Don't remove them, just loosen them. And then you're going to go over here, and in this little pocket, you'll find your down rod. You're going to pull that out, and we're going to remove the clevis pin that's at the end of this and the little clip that holds it. Don't throw them away, just remove them and set them aside. Okay, next you're going to go on a bit of a scavenger hunt. You're looking for these 3 pieces called C, D, and E. You'll find these 2 in there, and this one should be in here. But you need these 3 pieces. Once you've located your parts, you're going to feed the down rod in through the back of this largest Harbor Breeze piece. And then this trim ring will go on next, and it goes on with these little detents facing this, so it's going to cover these screws. So make sure that the smooth side is facing out, and this kind of textured side or notch side is facing in. And then this piece will go on facing back the same way. When you're done, your assembly is going to look like this. So the down rod is feeding through, trim piece is backwards. We've got that set. With this assembly then kind of pre-built, you're going to take all of those wires and feed them through this end of the assembly, kind of back towards my hand. And then this whole thing is going to get inserted here. And that clevis pin is going to run through those holes and these holes right here, and then the little clip gets put on the outside. So I'll show you what that looks like all assembled. We'll feed all those cables through here. Alright, so this should be your end result. We've got our down rod here, we've got our various pieces, and if you look under there, You'll see the pin running through and clipped on the other side. Now that all this is in place, I'm going to lift these covers up and retighten those screws on the side of the down rod. After that, you can take all this excess wire, and you're going to want to leave about 6 to 9 inches and cut off the rest. So for me, I'm going to cut it probably at this first fold. The reason there's so much of this wire is there are options to get longer down rods if you're hanging this type of fan like way up on a vaulted ceiling and need it to come down further. But for the short rod, most of this is unnecessary. So we're going to cut it off right here so we don't have so much excess wire stuffed up inside our outlet box. Now our next step is going to be to take this entire thing and put it up there, and to hang this down rod by this ball in that attachment bracket right up there. So that'll support the weight and everything once we're up there. Now I would suggest that you strip these wires first, as it's a whole lot easier to do that on the ground. So I'm going to strip off the ends of these wires, get those ready so I can connect them once we're up there, and then I'll go hang that in place and check in again. Okay, so our fan is hanging now by the down rod. You can see we've got our wires up here. So our next step is going to be to get everything wired and connected, and then we'll be able to close these up and kind of clean up the look of this. Okay, specific wiring at this step is going to depend on what your goal is. So in my wiring setup, you see I've got 4 wires here. I have a white, a black, a red, and then my ground. You'll see I also have 4 wires coming out of the fan. If you are setting it up so you have a separate wall switch that's going to control the fan versus the light, you need to know whether the black is for the light or the fan, and whether the red is for the light or the fan. In my case, the red is what's connecting to my control switch for the fan. The black is what's connecting to my control switch for the light. When you're looking at what's coming out of the fan, so out of this actual housing here, the white and the greens, the white and the grounds, those are simple, right? I'm going to connect the white to white. I'm going to connect the ground to the 2 grounds for my fittings here, and then we get to these last 2 wires. So the 2 colors I have here are black and blue. Now the way these are wired, and there's tags on the pieces you cut off if you need to verify this, but this black is going to the fan and the blue is going to the light. So in my particular setup, I'm going to wire the black wire from the fan to the red wire from my switches. I'm going to wire the blue wire from the fan to the black wire from my switches, white to white, greens to bare, and we'll be done. So if you are running this all off of one switch, so you have a single light switch that's going to control both, and you only have a single wire up here, so you're looking at white, black, and ground, you're going to take the blue wire and the black wire, and you're going to put those together and attach them both to the black wire from your switch. And obviously, before you do anything with electrical, before you've even gotten to the step and hung this here, since I've got bare wires, make sure your breakers are off. Not just your light switch at the wall, shut your breakers off at the panel. Otherwise, this black wire is going to be live and give yourself a heck of a shock. So make sure your breakers are off to this before you do any of the electrical. Mine's all off. In fact, I don't even have power out here to the porch at the moment. So I know that I've got nothing to worry about. I'm going to get these connected in, and then we will check in with the next step of the assembly. Okay, once your wires are all tucked away securely in your outlet box, you can lift this panel onto these 2 screws and twist it. That's going to secure this in place. Depending on what you're mounting to, you can see I have a little bit of a texture here. You may have to loosen this just slightly in order to get it to snug on there properly, but I shouldn't have to loosen it much, so just a slight touch, and then this should go on and turn, and then this little trim ring goes right over the top and also turns to lock in place and cover up these 2 screws. Your end result for this step should look just like this. So all of our screws are nice and hidden, everything is all tucked away, and we're good to go. Now note that even at this point, this whole fan can swivel and turn so that you can get it aligned exactly the way you want without having to mess with your wiring connections. So I can get this perfectly straight right down the middle of my porch. So as you probably guessed, our next step is going to be assembling fan blades. So we're going to pull our fan blades out of their bags here, and then you need the bag of screws marked BB. That's going to be the screws that are going to attach the mounting arms to the blades. You'll find the mounting arms in this segmented thing as well. And there should be 6 of them, I believe, 3 for each fan. So I'm going to pre-assemble each of these, and then those will get brought right up there. All right, I'm not boring you with watching me screw fan blades to braces, but this is what you're looking at. These blades are reversible. Both sides are exactly the same, so there's no color difference. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. Just run 3 screws through into the set screw holes and you'll be set. Now that we have those installed, our next step is going to be to place those on the fans themselves. For this, you're going to need the 6 motor screws that you saved from pulling the shipping blocks out, and 6 additional ones that they send with the kit in a bag labeled CC, which you'll find over there in one of those little pouches. So what you're going to do is go up to one of these fan motor housings, and you're going to line up the holes here with 2 of the spaces up there on the housing, and you'll kind of see how they're spaced together. They're clustered into little groups, so you're going to go for 2 that are grouped together, and then rotate the blade so that you can run your Phillips head screwdriver through the hole in that outer housing, the same one that we used to remove the shipping blocks, and tighten those in. You're going to do that for all 6 blades. So that's done. And I'm not going to lie, I've put together a lot of fans in my life. That was by far the most annoying and frustrating fan I've ever assembled from a standpoint of putting the fan blades on. I wish I could tell you that after doing 6 blades on that fan and 12 screws, I found some sort of method or trick to make it better. I didn't. The only thing I did find is that eventually you will determine, or I guess gain, a little bit of patience, and dropping screws just won't matter to you anymore. Out of 12 screws, I think I dropped 10. So you just kind of go with it. You do have 1 extra screw. So if something goes missing, you drop it, it bounces off the ladder and disappears into the far reaches of your room. You get 1. So keep track of the others. It's not fun. It's not hard. It's just there's no room around those little pieces that stick down from the fan. They get in the way. Yeah, I don't have a trick for you. Just fight it and eventually you'll persevere. Once you're done, however, then we can move to the next step. The next step is to put the caps over the fans themselves. You're going to need these. There are 2 of these. They're identical. You'll find them in that one. And then you're going to need these threaded end caps which hold them on, and you'll find those in one of these little bays in this piece. Not a lot of magic then to this. This cap just gets held over in place, and then this threaded piece screws in, which will hold the whole assembly together. Now that both of our fans are dressed out, we can deal with the centerpiece. Now it's up to you in your installation whether you're installing the light kit or not. If not, there's a delete plate. Otherwise, you can follow the next few instructions, which would be for the kit itself. Either way, around that center housing, there are 3 screws that you have to remove. So I'll go up there and take those out in a second. And I am going to be installing the light kit. So for aligning this kit, the only thing you really have to pay attention to is this little detent here, which is where the switch passes through that will reverse the fan direction. Other than that, you're going to line these 3 holes up with the holes for the screws you just pulled out. Please don't get rid of those screws. You will need them to reattach it. And then there's a plug here on the inside that's all pre-wired, which connects to that plug that's hanging on down there. So I'm going to get those screws pulled out and remove that plate. I'll get that plug connected, and then we will hook my fan up. All right, at this point you're essentially done. Next step is to put the light bulbs in and then test everything. And once you're satisfied that everything's working the way you expect, those chains can thread down through the glass globe that goes on the top. And then this piece will hold the globe in place. And then this one threads around the end point with the center chain for the light coming down through that hole. Now I'm not going to thread the chains down, I don't think, because I'm running these 2 separate switches, and my switch is going to have a rheostat on it so I can change my fan speed from the wall. So I'm likely to tuck those chains kind of up inside and not have them dangling, just because I think it'll look nicer, and because you won't be able to reach it without a ladder anyway. So that's where I'm probably going with this next. So I'm going to get everything plugged in and tested, and we'll check in with a final thought. Well, as you can see, we've had success. I guess all in all in this fan, I will say it is by far the hardest fan I've ever put together. It's very complicated, the way that you have to get your fingers into various spots in order to get it to run. I have it on its absolute lowest setting right now, which is why it's spinning so slow. I will say though, even on its higher settings, if I run this all the way to high, it wobbles quite a bit. and I know I've got everything snug, and I know that the mount point is about as firm as it could possibly be, so there's that. So I'm running it on medium for its highest setting, and at that point it doesn't push as much air as I wish it would. You can feel it, but not a lot. So I guess I'm 50-50 on this one. It looks nice. Aesthetically, I mean, it looks great up there, but I think for being out here on a hot summer day, which I am right now, it'd be nice if it was a little bit more effective at what it does. But depending on your need and depending on your use, it's cool. So kind of leave it at that. So this being the end of a DIY dad video, I do owe you a dad joke. And I was thinking about that. I couldn't help but remember I once saw a woman in a Lowe's who was just reading the riot act to the guy in the plumbing section trying to find bathroom fans. And when it really came down to it, I kind of helped out a little bit. Turns out really nothing was wrong. She just really badly needed to vent. All right, remember, with any DIY project, most important step is just to do it. No one's going to see the flaws unless you point them out to them. Have a good day, stay safe. Catch you on the next one. Bye.